miss out too much, risk me into like, hey, so I'm with Lorna Alkana, and Lorna was an awesome artist with our Radio Titans operation downtown LA, and you did lots of amazing flyers and artwork and all sorts of things, and tons of photos that are on a really fun Facebook page. You have to look for the second Radio Titans page when you look on Radio Titans on Facebook. There's one with a yellow logo that says Titan in black letters. That was one that I created. The one that more of her photos appear on is the other one. So look for that. Anyways, yeah. So Lorna, how did you first hear about Radio Titans and decide to get involved with what we were doing?
Hi, Carl. I first heard about Radio Titans through Johnny O, John Mark Owens. He had opened Caffeina Galleria in Silver Lake, and I lived right down the street from that, or Silver Lake, right up the hill, the steps. And I had decided that I was an artist, and he had walls, and so I hung some art there. And from there, I met Jake, who is how I think we found ourselves up an elevator in downtown at Radio Titans.
Okay. So what was your first impression of, because we had this 6-room suite, and some other people have described like, wow, I was really impressed riding an official elevator that you had to get buzzed in by a guard and all this. And then you get to the office and we had this amazing view, but it also was kind of obvious that people were living there right off the bat. So what are your thoughts about all that?
Yeah, I remember, I think it was the first time I was there. I'm sorry, can you hear the
No, it's fine.
motorcycle?
It's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry.
The first time I was there, I think I felt like we shouldn't be there, like we didn't belong there. We were going to get kicked out or something, because it's different than a coffee shop just on a main street. Like we were in a mall and it was like 2 a.m. and yeah, there was a security guard and we had to have our name on the list. I don't know if initially we needed the name on the list. That might have happened after a month or so of potentially complaints from other tenants or from people that worked in the building. I loved that the elevator had a mirror on the top, so I was constantly doing group selfies, and sometimes it was just me, sometimes it was me and like 8 other people, or however many we could get in there. It was a really cool spot, great view. And I remember some sleepless night, I was there with John and Anna, and I was hanging Christmas lights around the window. I wanted them to be a very particular way. I think John had like haphazardly thrown them up, and I thought I'd make a nice square around the window, cool reflections at night. That was a great spot.
Yeah, the Christmas lights were awesome. We have a video, thankfully, we'll be able to show that we made a fun like holiday video at one of the shows, and so it shows all the decorations. But and I also remember it was neat, like being out on the street and looking up, and we were like the one window in the whole skyscraper that had bothered to decorate for Christmas. So that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I don't know
you
if I
just
ever saw that.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
you just see one window with all these like little lights, and everything else just dark, empty, whatever, lifeless, and us. Yeah. So, um, anyway, so what? Yeah, in general, like, what are your memories of the general spirit of what we were doing at Radio Titans? Artistically, etc. What were your impressions of that in general?
Well, I love that it was a space where I felt comfortable coming to Jake and mentioning that there was some like maybe Rolling Stones poster in the front room of Radio Titans, not in the recording space, but kind of the lobby area. And I thought that it didn't represent necessarily the creative spirit of the people who were there. And I told him, like, I have art. Can I put some Lorna art up in here? And the fact that I felt comfortable bringing that up, pitching that idea, and that he said, yeah, go for it, run with it. we have all these other rooms too. And so I had a bunch of art. I had just moved, and I had lost a lot of wall space, and I had taken art down from different places. I had it up in other venues in LA. So it was great. I made a green room with a bunch of green pieces of art. And a lot of my art was digital drawings of photos I had taken from events in LA. So I thought it captured the spirit. There was like musicians and also some of like the Silver Lake greenery and flowers. And there was a blue room, which had like more of a underwater thing, friendly turtles. And then the front were like the larger pieces of downtown LA skylines. And I got positive feedback, and it was nice to be able to go to Radio Titans and feel like I was contributing. There were the musicians there, obviously, who would always be ready to play guitar or jam, or Chelsea Monet was always, freestyling. I met her there. I think I met her there when I think she'd just woken up. So maybe she was there at the time. I'm not sure. But it was a fun spot. And then not only that, but then it was private and then also public, because it was a radio station. And so there was this secret life behind the microphone, and then broadcasting out into the world too.
Yeah. So what do you feel about I guess I'll get the heavy questions out of the way first, sort of. What do you feel about, like, did we create a good space for women in general? I know there was a specific problem or two that we'll also touch on, but in general, do you think that we were a good vibe for women artists, or was there problems? Was it too much of a boys' club? Anything like that?
Yeah, well, I think that I was young, but I think misogyny is pretty prevalent in most of the spaces that I walked through in LA, starting with Cappy and a Galleria, and then also Rafa's is a art gallery that I showed art with. And I think I had figured out a way to navigate through that. Maybe accepting the boys will be boys scenario, but also learning how to advocate for myself and for other women to be included. I don't think that the misogyny and the boys club was the intention of the men, not that it excuses it, but I do think there were attempts at inclusivity, but they weren't aware of how they still were objectifying women, still kind of wanting women not necessarily for their ideas, and how they could enact them and the partnership that they could provide. Or I guess I'll just speak for myself that, what I brought to the table, because when I recognized that there was a member of kind of the group who was lying to women, taking advantage of them, mistreating them. And I went to the other boys, John and Jake, about this person. I was denied as far as whether my concerns were valid. When I'm saying this person is a predator, like, this is bad news for our group, for them to not take that into consideration as a really important thing to address. I guess it hurt my feelings, and also kind of showed their cards as far as, in the end, it's going to be the dudes for the dudes.
Okay. So then what about the overall, like, because we did a lot of live events also, and that's something I think was pretty unique for a podcast operation, to think about that, and so since you created posters and stuff like that for some of our live events, I mean, any thoughts about that overall approach? Did you think that was as ambitious as I'm hoping it was, or was it really kind of a normal thing in the LA scene at the time to do live and, recorded stuff?
Well, for me, it was normal just because live events were what I was used to. So I didn't know on the back end that it was weird for a podcast or a radio station to host these events. But for me, I mean, they were where I wanted to be. So my relationship was more with enjoying live music, and dancing and hanging out with my friends and meeting new people and, putting art everywhere, and collaborating, all of that. All of that good stuff. And then the fact that it was from Radio Titans, it meant, it was a new community and there was a lot of other stuff going on in addition to just a single event. It was like there could be the reoccurring artists, that not only would I see them at the pool party, but then I'd see them at the studio later. And at the studio, they'd be promoting an event, at a different venue in Hollywood. And so then we'd go to that later. So it created a snowball effect.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess the last thing I can think of, and you're welcome to add on anything else that I might be forgetting. But I mean, since you were a big part of the pool party, it was your killer poster that we spotlighted at the Gaylord to get people out there and everything. Any memories of that? Because we're looking to get people's fun comments about the pool party since that was so huge.
Yeah, I remember. So the Radio Titans pool party, I remember dancing in the pool. I think there's some photo of me which like helps me kind of visualize the memory of that Sasha Ross took, where I was like arms up, and then in front of me is probably Hot Sauce Holiday, with Jonathan, his head paint, and probably jumping into the pool. That was really a great venue. And I think afterwards we ended up going to another concert. Like all of these bands played so many shows, and sometimes multiple in a day. So I mean, the pool party, I remember the pool and dancing in it, and so that made it a unique experience. But it was a great time.
Okay. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to hit on. The more I do these, the more like efficient I've gotten at them. So like I know we talked a lot more the first time, but I think that now I have a better sense of, okay, these are the exact questions that I need to hit this person with. So that's all I've got. But anything else that you want to say?
For sure. Well, I wanted to ask you, Carl, about what was significant to you about the pool party.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the thing that was neat about the pool party was that the idea that we were pulling together like 8 bands or 7 bands and 10 comedians, and we had a pig on a spit thanks to Jake Bowman's idea, reaching out to one of his fireside friends that raised pigs. And and then we had like a couple of trash cans full of beer that we provided, and it was just the sheer insane audacity of doing that. Like who does that for a pool party? And I don't know, it's like one thing that I told one of the guys when they were interviewing me the other day was that David Letterman is and was my hero my whole life. And to me, this was kind of like if David Letterman threw a pool party, what would happen? And I felt like that's what we did, was this off the wall crazy thing. And I love the fact that it was estimated 150 people showed up over the course of the party, and that the cops were called 3 times. And all 3 times they just laughed it off because you can do whatever you want until 10 o'clock at night in LA. And that one of the times the cops said the calls of complaints about the noise were coming from as far as 2 miles away. I mean,
wow.
It was just like, who does that? We did it, So, I mean, I was talking with one of the first Jake from my Hollywood year
Mhm.
about other events that we threw that were never, that was the biggest one by far, but um and I said, I don't know if we ever accomplished actually getting more listeners off of throwing all these crazy events, but it was still just like nobody else was doing it, so why not do it? And
Yeah.
that was the whole thing. And I think it was also special to me at the Gaylord because I lived there,
Mhm.
and it was like, I don't know, I was always like, one big thing that I've psychoanalyzed lately about why I did Radio Titans was that I grew up in an extremely repressed household where I wasn't allowed to have a lot of friends. Almost everybody was really judged and
Mm.
scrutinized, and so I wound up hanging out with two or three people ever. And so when I got out, I instantly in college was on the party scene and doing, meeting all these people, doing whatever, all sorts of crazy things, including whatever comedy things there were. And I think that I looked at this as, you know, I want to make other people happy. I want to make up for all the friends I never
Yeah.
had. I want to, and a lot of it is also like I'm obsessed with The Office, the sitcom,
Mhm.
and my therapist actually made me analyze why do I like Michael Scott so much. And the thing is, because I've had people compare me to Michael Scott because I have such enthusiasm for things, but I'm a bonehead when it comes to the actual serious responsibility side of running a business. I mean, I've failed twice on epic levels on the financial end, but I still, Michael Scott, he said a couple of times, that he looked at the office people as not his coworkers or his underlings, but they were his family and they were
Yeah.
his friends because he was a lonely kid. And so I think it was very parallel that this was, you know, getting to run an office during the downtown era, especially, was just crazy that they would let us into the space, do what we did, and that you guys made an office for me within the office. I don't know if you remember, but I was like surprised one day with, "Hey, Carl, open that door," and somebody had got this amazing desk that had a green top,
Oh yeah, the green top.
and I
Mhm.
hung all these photos of all these magazine covers of my heroes up on the wall. And I don't know, it was just everything about it. It was really just an excuse to finally have a bunch of friends, I think, you
Yeah.
know. So
For
not a good
sure.
way to run a business, but I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So yeah. Anyway, but thanks for the question. And I needed somebody to get me to talk about it on tape. Um. Anyway, well, that's all I can think of. Anything
All right,
else?
perfect.
Okay, awesome. Okay, you better
Bye.
be happy with this one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll
Okay, all
send you the
right.
video in a second, but thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay,
Hey,
thanks,
oh,
Carl.
by the way, are you, let me pause.